So, one word that describes Bianca that comes to my mind is professional. Everything that she does is just professional. If you want to have a look at the way she... just in her, the quality of the stuff that she puts online and everything that she does is absolutely professional. When she said she would like to come again, because you've presented to the group before, and talk about play from NeuroPLAYstic Way, I go, what a great compliment this will be to Roses. So hands outstretched, and please welcome Bianca.
Thank you everyone, and thanks Murph for inviting me along again. I'm really stoked to be here and share with you today. Some of you know me, some of you don't. I am what I call a neuroplastic nerd. I am really obsessed with all things play, laughter, and transformation. Some of you may know that I have a YouTube channel that clocks about 600 or 700 hours of views for laughter yoga videos every single month. Some of you may know that I created the NeuroPLAYstic Way, which is why I'm standing here right now. Which is, the NeuroPLAYstic Way is a way of facilitating for coaches, leaders, parents, basically anybody, to incorporate laughter and play and understanding of the nervous system and nervous system regulation, and some neuroscience and somatic practices. So it's a really well-rounded way of approaching well-being and transformation. What you may not know about me is that back in 2021, I really hit a very spiky end of stress. I had a consultation with a naturopath about some dermatitis, and she did a big consultation over 90 minutes. And one of the questions that was in that consultation that I'll never forget was, do you relax? And my answer to that was, no, but I think I could. And I realized in that moment, things have got to change. It's not like I thought everything was peachy. I was having problems sleeping and could only sleep for about 4 hour chunks at a time, and then I'd take a couple of hours to go back to sleep at night. I was getting jittery if I spent an hour and a half in front of the computer. I had to step away. Felt like I was shaking inside. I was anxious, and I was really tired. And I was tired of trying. And after that consultation, I really had to make a decision about how I was going to move forward. Was I going to keep pushing and keep pressing? Or was I going to take my health and well-being, and thereby the well-being of my family, the well-being of my clients that I worked with, seriously, instead of living in this serious, very chronically serious state? There were times where there was no play in my days, but there was plenty of stress and worry, anxiety. And so I decided I had to take a break. And I took some time. I took about 6 months to do something called neuroplasticity-based healing. Brain retraining is what it's called in that space. And really start to work on my limbic brain, which is our emotional center in our brain. Because even though I was a coach, even though I'd invested thousands in personal development, even though I read about psychology and positive mindset and all these things, what I realized at that point was the tools I had were not enough to equip me for what I was facing. Even though I taught about rest and digest and survival mode for years in my work, I didn't know that I could tip so far over the edge into survival mode that I would be in nervous system dysregulation and what's called limbic system impairment, which is where our amygdala, which is responsible for setting off the alarm bells when things are wrong, just gets stuck on a loop. And my system was just firing its own loops back and forth, brain to body, and I see a lot of people nodding. You understand this, whether it's professionally, personally, or both. So I took the time and I managed to get to a point where I was well again, I was sleeping again, my partner and I had been together 7 years at that point, and he was like, you're like a new person, like you deal with everything so well, you're not overwhelmed anymore. And I moved forward from there. But all of that habits die hard. And a month ago, I was back there again. And I'm currently in 3 months of self-imposed recovery. And then in January, I'll reassess what I'm doing. And it's through these experiences and through looking around and seeing that it's not just a coincidence that Rosemary had a bit of a breakdown as well. It's very normal in our society to just keep pushing, and I loved the presentation because I was like, this is amazing, took a lot of notes, and also set up so perfectly, well done Merv with your scheduling, for what I'm here to talk about today. Have you ever had a time where you've just felt ill-equipped, you just haven't had the tools to work through the challenges that you're facing? Yeah. Have you had a time where seriousness reigns supreme and you just couldn't even laugh when your partner tells you a joke in the kitchen? You're just like, oh yeah. And have you had a time where you felt like a serious change was needed? Yeah, I can see a lot of nodding going on. So today I'm here to talk about the NeuroPLAYstic Way, which is something that has developed over the last 6 years or so. So I'm trained in laughter yoga. I did the first 60-hour training here in Sydney for laughter wellness. Trained in quantum play, and I did a laughnosis course as well, which was what really got me started on combining laughter and neuroscience. It was really, really pivotal to my work. But what I understood when I hit this point in my life was that most coaches don't use laughter and play. Most therapists don't use laughter and play. A lot of people don't use somatic techniques. Now, somatic, soma isn't a word for the body. So rather than trying to nut it out up here, we're using the body to use its intelligence. And it's called a bottom-up approach rather than a top-down approach. And both are needed for us to come into balance and for trauma and working through trauma. I'm not a therapist, so I don't specifically seek out working with trauma, but it's very powerful to use the two-way street, right, as we do in laughter yoga. Most coaches, like me, have no idea about neuroplasticity and what's actually going on in the brain. And again, I'm not a neuroscientist. But if you ask my partner, I sit there at night, and despite being so tired that I can usually only read one page of any book, I'll be reading about the brain and how it works and what's going on. So I developed this through my work, and I've seen the results with clients where when we can use this integrated approach, we can really create really, really powerful benefits, because we're not dismissing or leaving by the wayside any aspect. The unfortunate norm, again, we get on this wheel, we get on the go-getter's wheel. We feel a bit of stress, we push on, because that's what the Protestant work ethic told us to do, right? It's godly. And we do praise it in our culture. Then we reach burnout or overwhelm and fatigue, and we find temporary relief. We have a hot bath, take a weekend away. I'm a bit better, I can charge on. And this is what I've been doing. Took 6 months to recover, and then spent the last 2 years basically getting back on this wheel. And then we go back to the grind and we feel stress, and it goes around and around. And the issue is that this is so normal and so praised in our day-to-day. Now, the effects of chronic stress can be very detrimental. It boosts chemicals in our system like cortisol and adrenaline. Now, when we keep cortisol in our systems too long, it just wreaks havoc on our system. Survival mode is made for what? Surviving. We don't spend days or weeks or months running away from a tiger, right? We get away and we're designed to toggle back and reset. But again, we can get stuck in that limbic system impairment where we're stuck in that loop. So it can diminish muscle tissue, it can wreak havoc on our digestive function, our endocrine system, our mood, our sleep, basically any and all functions. And when I went to that naturopath, she's also an iridologist, and she looked in my eyes and she's like, stress is affecting every organ of your body. I can give you whatever for the dermatitis, but until you deal with the stress, your gut, you're not going to intake those nutrients. If I give you supplements, you need to work on the stress first and foremost. It messes with our cognitive function, our memory. My memory has been shocking lately. And it's embarrassing because I forget what friends have told me. I even forgot one time someone that I knew from a laughter club here in Sydney. Spoke to him again 6 months later. I kind of remembered that something happened with his parents, but I forgot that they had both died in quick succession. I just forgot, and I was like, how do you forget that someone's parents have died? Bianca. But my brain's in survival mode. I'm running from the tiger 24/7. I don't need to remember anyone's parents. I'm running for my life inside my system. It limits our creativity because, again, certain functions of our brain just do not work, and it presses a pause on our true growth and development. We're not repairing internally at the same rate that we could, and as far as any personal growth or that kind of thing, we're not doing a whole lot of that when we're in chronic stress. When we can utilize the power of play, we can really create some magic. And play can boost up dopamine and oxytocin and an acid, let's call it, called GABA, which helps to calm our nervous system. It can create calm and safety because in play, we're getting choice. We can choose our parameters, where we play, how we play, and that creates a lot of safety within our systems as well. And we are also activating the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest. We can be so creative, so imaginative in play. And that means better problem solving. It means joy. Who loves to be creative here? Yeah, it's fun. It's part of play, is that exploration for me and for many. It's just that freedom. And we can shift emotions stored in the body, similar to the somatic work that I was talking about before. We have emotions stored inside our bodies that we can help to move out when we're using movement, when we're using laughter, when we're using play. We can really get deep in there. Now, laughter, when I was preparing this slideshow, I had my usual full spectrum, laughter is the best at everything kind of. It's this big wheel. I can show you at the end because it's right at the end. It got kicked out to the very end. And I was like, but actually what I really want to talk today about is laughter's role in transformation. Because we know how laughter works, right? We know we're boosting feel-good chemicals in our system, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. Many of us in this room already know that. But what I want to talk about is how it creates calm and safety in the nervous system. So again, taking us over into that parasympathetic. And in another slide or two, I'll get to how it sets fertile ground for rewiring our brain. This is what gets me going, is when we can use laughter for transformation. We'll be using it as a primer for transformation in a little while. Laughter leaves you with a clear mind, and that's because almost instantly when we begin to laugh, our brain goes into a gamma brainwave state. Now this is the highest frequency that our brain functions at, and it's a very high processing, fast processing state where we are very alert and we are very open and receptive at the same time. Gamma brainwaves have been associated with what meditators aim for, called the zone or the gap. And who, after a laughter yoga session, feels like their brain's just empty? And you're like, yes, so good. What we can do, and what we have the opportunity for, again using laughter as a primer, is once our mind is open, we can plant seeds for positive change. We can just go, oh, that was great, off I go. But we can use it in really powerful ways as well. And again, it helps with growth and development in the same ways that play does, and especially when used as a primer. So here's how. I've already explained a couple of ways that laughter and play create safety and calm. Laughter and play also open up the brain, like I've just explained, with gamma brainwaves. And we're able to bypass what's called the conscious critical faculty. This is like the gateway to the subconscious mind. This is the thing that when you're like trying to do affirmations in the mirror and you're like, you're so beautiful. And it's like, no, you're not. When we laugh, we kind of open that up, or we hop the fence, however you want to imagine it, and we can get into the subconscious mind because, again, it's open. It's ready to receive. So if you run laughter sessions and you want to really plant some powerful things in the laughter meditation at the end, it's a great idea if you want to create change, especially if you're meeting, you've got that core group of people coming week after week. Give them something beautiful, plant it in. They don't even know what's happening and their lives will change, and then they come back next week and wow, it's funny that you mentioned that in that meditation, because guess what happened? And we're creating positive chemistry. And that sort of feeds into the two that I've just mentioned, because without that positive chemistry, we're not going to fall into the state of calm, and we're not going to be ourselves in a high frequency state either. So let's play. What I'm going to get you to do is, if you feel like you're going to fall asleep, you can stand up. But otherwise, you can stay seated. Oh, let's stand up. Let's stand up. I'm going to invite you to imagine a day where you felt like, oh, today's going to be a bad day. You might have even just woken up and decided it's going to be crap. Right? It might have been raining outside, or something's kind of ruined your plans. Give me a thumbs down when you can think of something. Yeah. A day where just maybe everything went wrong. Great. Don't worry, we won't stay here too long, but we are going to go into this. So if it feels good to you, you can close your eyes. You can let go of your thumbs if you want to, just relax your arms. And just imagine that day, or a day like that. Notice where you were. Notice what was around you. What can you see? Notice who was there with you, if anyone. Notice what you can hear, other than your own thoughts going, this is shit. What can you hear in that space? Notice what you can smell or taste, if anything. And tuning your attention now into your body, remembering this day or a day like it. Notice what you can feel inside your body. What emotions are there? Is there frustration, anger, disappointment, sadness? Is there despair or hopelessness? Just notice what's there. Notice where you feel that in your body. And you might even like to place a hand close to where you can feel that. And notice what thoughts are running in your head. Is it, this is bad, I'm running late, or I get fired. I don't know what your situation is, but you do. So notice what those thoughts are. Now I'm going to get you to open up your eyes. We're going to take some breaths together. We're going to breathe in deeply through our noses, down into the belly. We're going to hum out as long as we can go. We're going to do 3 more like this. Allow yourself to let go with each hum. Just enjoy the vibration and the sound. Last one. I'm going to take a deep breath in now. And similar to a hum, but like a laugh with your mouth closed. Deep breath in. Nice deep breath in. And laugh with your mouth open. Okay, taking a nice deep breath in, sighing it out. I'm going to get you to move around the room, laughing, and you're going to go to someone and you're going to share some thought that came to you. They're going to share theirs. You're going to laugh together, and then you're going to laugh your way around the room. So it might look like this. If you're ready to repeat What was he thinking? just checking back in with maybe that space in your body where you've had the sensation before. And just noticing if and how that feels different. Noticing if you have to seek for it and you're like, where is that gone? That's good. You don't have to find it, that's fine. You might have left your body through your laughter. Opening up your eyes. Bringing back to your seats. And I might just get a couple of quick shares of what you just experienced when you checked back in.
It changes.
It changes, yeah. Was it gone? Was it a different sensation? Was it?
It wasn't gone like I could remember,
Mhm.
but it didn't have a negative feeling in my body. It was like, oh yeah, right, that's different.
Mm-hmm. Great. Yes. Okay.
Just an openness, a sense of openness and a different energy in its place.
Yeah. Wonderful. And what was the experience like, if anyone wants to share, going and saying their words to someone else? How did that feel?
Empowering.
Empowering?
Yeah.
Let it out?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Uplifting.
Uplifting? Did anyone find it funny? Your thoughts funny?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ridiculous?
Yeah. It was like, oh, that was just so stupid. Silly.
I got to the point where I didn't actually want to say it because it was negative. I'm like, oh, I'm over it. I'm so over it.
So over it. Fantastic. So, the NeuroPLAYstic way of facilitating change starts with some of these things we've talked about. We talked about creating the safety and calm. Does anyone want to share how they think we created safety and calm here at the start of what we did?
The breathing.
The breathing, yeah.
And the vibration.
The vibration of the humming, yeah, activates the vagus nerve and thereby activates the parasympathetic response. So we already started to calm down just with those few breaths. And that long humming is one of my favourite things. If I'm late and I'm driving, that's what you'll find me doing.
I think making yourself vulnerable through your sharing ahead of the activity helps people feel safe to be vulnerable.
Yes, as me as the facilitator, absolutely. Yes, definitely. We opened up the brain, laughter. Oh, yeah, we've got too much dancing around going on. We obviously created the positive chemistry. What we did is we started a little pathway. Who has thought those words before and laughed or danced or sung with them? No. Never. So what we did was we kind of juxtaposed things. So this is one of the quickest, easiest, and my most used methods with laughter, is that we brought in something negative or unwanted. We brought those emotions, we all felt them in our bodies where they were residing, hanging out. And then we brought in the chemicals of laughter. Our body won't hold both of those at the same time. So that's in the body. In the brain, neuroscientists say what neurons that fire together wire together. What does that mean? It means when we think of that day where everything was going wrong or we thought it was going to be crap, we instantly feel those feelings, we think those thoughts. That pattern fires off in the different areas of our brain without us having to consciously choose it. We don't go, oh no, it's raining outside. That means it's going to be a crappy day and I'm going to be grumpy all day. We don't choose that, it just happens. That pathway is well worn. Much like walking through the bush. The first time you create a path, you're probably going to get scratches from the bushes and it's going to be a squeeze to get through and you've made a little trail. And the next time it gets bigger and stronger and it's easier for you to move faster down that path. And the more we use that path, the more it can become a superhighway where it fires off without us thinking about it. We're not necessarily training to laugh when things go wrong, although I highly recommend it. I love to do it. It's a great relief in the moment when you're on your computer and you're working on that one last thing before bed and then it crashes. Favorite, laugh. Why not? You can go to bed angry, you can hold on, or you can choose to let go. I used laughter in a moment of extreme rage. It wasn't about him, but he was there. And he was like, I've never seen you so angry. You literally looked like there was like steam coming out your ears and fire in your eyes. And I chose in that moment to take myself outside. And I laughed, even though I really didn't want to. And I laughed, and it sounded like, at the start, but I got myself to keep going. So I wanted to build a different pathway. And I'd never done it in such an extreme emotion before, or, just not in the moment with such an extreme emotion. The most I'd done was, I've lost my work on the computer. Not exactly extreme rage in my scenario. Yes.
I did something similar. I kicked my toe and the pain was excruciating and I made the choice to laugh.
Yeah.
And at first it was hard and then I just laughed and Jesus helped deal with the pain.
Totally. The endorphins, they're natural painkillers.
Yeah.
And it lets you let go, because otherwise you hobble around and you're like, thing all day, right? We can hold on to these things for days, weeks, months, decades, if we want to. So back to the pathway. The second thing that neuroscientists say is the opposite. So neurons that fire together wire together, but neurons that fire out of sync lose their link. So the less we go down that path, and the more we choose this path, the less that one connects. And eventually our brain does something called pruning, where it goes, we're not even using those connections there. We're going to take those and build them onto this new pathway that we need. This is why if you learned a language in primary school and you never used it, your brain's gone, we do not use that, we're going to need those parts somewhere else. So again, we can also plant seeds for positive change, which we have a little bit of time to do. So we're creating that new pathway and planting seeds for positive change. Again, very simple and easy way. If you run a laughter session, you do the laughter meditation, you do a grounding meditation at the end, suggest something. People are very open. Suggest that they're going to have a great week. Very simple. Suggest that they're going to be more resilient when they meet challenges. Sweet. The last one there is using repetition. I'm here in my self-imposed recovery for 3 months because I repeatedly took that path again. I built these paths and then I took that path for another couple of years and I landed myself back where I am. So repetition, as with anything with the brain, the pathway becomes stronger and we ingrain that pattern in. So before we move on to that one, we're going to do one quick thing. Get you to stand up again. And this is one of my favourite ways to plant seeds for positive change. And I call it a mantra chant. So it's like an affirmation, but we get really groovy with it. And so we've thought about our bad day. You might like to just consciously bring it. We don't have to go all the way to feeling it in the body. We're going to say, today is my day and it's gonna go my way. Yay, today is my day and it's gonna go my way. Yay, today is my day and it's gonna go my way. Hey, today is my day and it's gonna go my way. Hey, today is my day and it's gonna go my way. Hey, today is my day and it's gonna go my way. Hey, today is my day and it's gonna go my way. Hey, today is my day and it's gonna go my way. Hey, today is my day and it's gonna go my way. Hey, today is my day and it's gonna go my way. Yay! the connection between all of these things and helps to really get into the body, the nervous system, and the brain. It helps us to really create that deep sense of calm. It helps us to create what I'm most passionate about, is true transformation. We're literally and physically changing things within our brains, things within our bodies, our biochemistry. And we're using understood methods from coaching and psychology and things like that as well to work top down and bottom up. So as I came to my decision this time to go into my recovery, I was actually gearing up a teacher training for next year, and I was like, I'm not in a space to facilitate and launch all this right now. However, I put a QR code there if you would like to register your interest. If you are interested in learning more, I can send you information. If next year I decide to run workshops, if I decide to run a teacher training, if you've got questions, there's also space on the form that'll come up there for you to ask any questions that you've got there, but I am also around today if you want to ask in person. And you can find me at those links below. I think the Q&A for this session will be more in the break time because of where we're at time-wise. But I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. Thanks for playing today. And I really appreciate you throwing your all into those exercises. Today is your day, and it's going to go your way. Yay!